Hey B, hey Manuel, I'm finally back from Japan.
What's up?
Okay, I did the reading. I'm a bit confused. Was it in ones and zeros for you guys as well?
No. What did you read?
Princess Ai.
Oh my god.
It was a string of ones and zeros, and then it's just like a bunch of like gobbledygook that seems to have been compiled from a bunch of other like better stories. Hi, I'm JD.
And I'm Manuel.
I'm B.
And you're reading the wrong way. So yes, welcome to Reading the Wrong Way for March 2025. We are reading Princess Ai.
Yeah, this is our monthly Manga of the Month podcast where we pick a manga, hopefully a short enough one that we can read within the month, and then we give it a bit of a review and an examination and everything else in between. There will be spoilers, so keep that in mind. Got the manga anyway, and even if you check out, I mean, if you hear our spoilers first, it's still probably worth reading. Well, actually, watch to the end.
Usually, maybe not this time.
Yeah, maybe we'll save you. Like, you can get everything you want here. Who knows? But yeah. Princess Ai. So this was my pick. I have a lot to say about this, but I'll trim it down really fast here. So Princess Ai was an interesting manga for me because when I was getting into anime, this was coming out, and it was fairly big. Like I remember like my local Barnes & Noble having a whole display for it, and I remember my local Suncoast and like Suncoast. Does anyone even know what a Suncoast is? Like I think FYE bought them out like at some point. My local Suncoast, which is a movie store, had a Princess Ai like set of action figures or whatever, toys or whatever. And they also had like, I think they had an art book and some other stuff. And they kind of even had a Princess Ai section. And I'm sure TokyoPop paid for all of this to put it all front and center. And I remember my then girlfriend was really into it. She's like, oh, Courtney Love's involved. I want to read it. And I remember buying the first volume and letting her borrow it. She had it for like a couple months. Never read it. She gave it back to me. And then I kept it. And I was always one of those people like, I need to wait till I get them all. I didn't realize it would take 2 years for that to happen. I just never read it. And now I'm like, oh, this feels like an interesting cultural thing for TokyoPop. I want to read it. So here we are.
Yeah, and that's about the only thing interesting about it.
Yeah. You're letting on our opinions very early. Actually, and either of you give us a basic rundown of the details of the manga?
Yeah, I think B would have the funnier one. No. Oh, you want me to do it? Okay. So this is supposedly, and we'll get to this at the end, but this is supposedly, if you go to Wikipedia, it'll be like, oh, this is a take on a fictionalized fantasy-esque take on Courtney Love and Kurt Cobain's, well, Courtney Love's life mainly, but also with her love with Kurt Cobain. And basically, it follows an amnesiac princess named Ai, who appears on Earth very mysteriously in a bunch of torn up clothes. She has a heart-shaped box with her, and
okay. I just want to interject right here. The amount of times they use that phrase just kept getting funnier when I remembered that in, I think, 2012, Courtney Love tweeted that the name of the Nirvana song, Heart Shaped Box, was named after her, should I say lady parts?
Yes. Okay. So I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot to put that up in my notes, and I probably would not have mentioned it if no one else did. But yes, I was like, bro, that's weird.
Like, I know that apparently there was also an actual, like, heart-shaped box that they would put, like, poetry and notes into each other. But just hearing that, remembering that tweet she made was just like, yeah, please don't keep repeating that phrase.
Yeah, they keep repeating that phrase. But yeah, she has a heart-shaped box. She meets this dude who, some guy tries to steal it from her. And then after that guy fails in stealing, we'll get to that later on when we get more into the finer plot points. She meets a guy named Kent. Through a series of mishaps, she ends up living with Kent. And then it turns out that like she's being hunted by these people from like the world she came from. And in order to like keep Kent safe, she decides to like join this agency to protect her. And then she becomes a musician and heals the world through song, just like Courtney Love did, right? And that's honestly pretty much the bigger plot points, yeah. Yeah,
to add in some more basic information that Manuel left out. Yes, this manga is credited to Courtney Love and DJ Milky, which is apparently a pseudonym for Stuart Levy, former CEO of TokyoPop. It's apparently written and illustrated by Misaho Kujiradou, who is only credited, from what I could find, with Princess Ai and its spin-offs, and some character designs by Ai Yazawa of Nana fame.
Yeah, and it's funny because this had a huge like laundry list of like big names attached to it, and TokyoPop published it. I don't know if you guys knew this. I didn't know this until like last week when I was digging deeper into this. This was serialized in an actual comic in Japan, Wings magazine,
from 2004 to 2005.
Yep, it was serialized in Japan. It had like a full Japanese run, which is probably why it took so long to like for it to get printed. Because other English OEM manga, as we call them, original English manga, some of those would release their volumes within a year, and that's not the case here at all. But yeah, Wings magazine, which is also the magazine where like Tokyo Babylon and some other like shoujo things came out. It was a fantasy magazine at first, apparently, but now it's like shoujo manga for adults. This is current branding, which I find
isn't that just josei?
Exactly. But anyway, yeah. To add some more credits to Misaho Kujiradou, I tried to do a crazy deep dive in like her actual Japanese name and some of her other credits. She did do some other one shots and like very short series in Wings, or in like actually Wings is published by a publisher called Shinsokan. Some of the related magazines she had a few works in, but yeah, the Princess Ai is her claim to fame. And I do want to give credit to her. Apparently she had a lot of writing, she wrote and she illustrated. And I think that like Ai Yazawa gets a lot of credit for some weird reason if you just like her name gets attached to it too much.
It's the Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas effect.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still shocked by that. For those who want to know a little fun fact about Manuel, JD is the one who like told me that Tim Burton did not direct Nightmare Before Christmas, and that was kind of recently ago.
Yeah, he wrote the poem that it's based on, but it was not Selick who directed. I'm looking it up right now, so I will put it in. Yeah. Okay. Oh no, I was right. It was Henry Selick who directed that movie. But that's neither here nor there. There isn't manga adaptation of that, so maybe one day.
Actually, it's funny.
Yeah, actually, didn't Stu Levy
yes
have something to do with the manga adaptation of that?
So yeah, it's Stu Levy. I think he I looked a lot up on Stu Levy too. I think he's kind of taking a backseat to TokyoPop these days. He's like moved to Germany, and he works for like TokyoPop Germany, which I think is like a subsidiary that's like just him. But yeah, he did have a lot to do with the TokyoPop Nightmare Before Christmas adaptations. Actually, not adaptations, they're just original works at this point. There's that infamous tweet that like certain circles made fun of for a while. TokyoPop tweeted out, "Get our new Nightmare Before Christmas anime manga at your local Cracker
Barrel."
Okay, get your Nightmare Before Christmas anime manga at your local Cracker Barrel store, which is the most weirdest sentence I've ever said in my life. And they tweeted that for real. But anyways, let's get back to this one. This isn't about Stu Levy, even though he had way too much to do with this.
I mean, he wrote it.
Yeah, that is true. He actually
wrote all the English dialogue.
I think it's worth just getting out the way now. Courtney Love, for those who don't know who she is, she's a very controversial figure. At this point in her career, when this manga came out, technically the last whole album until like the reunion in 2010s was Celebrity Skin, which was a huge hit album. So she was riding the wave off of that. Then Hole broke up, and then she started doing all these other side projects. And one of the side projects was, yes.
I just want to interrupt because you use Hole in parts where it might sound like you're using Hole with a W. You're talking Hole with an H, which is the name of her band. Just in case they don't know who Courtney Love is, that she was in a band called Hole, Hole.
Are you
Hole with a W is the name of the radio station from the manga.
I didn't realize there. Oh, it's true. Oh, I didn't even notice that. That was a reference, wasn't it?
But yeah, go on with the description. I just want to make sure listeners who don't know her are clear on that.
Yeah, so she was in the middle of releasing her first solo album when this manga came out, and I think she was working on both. Like because I came across an interview, and I think the manga was coming out around the same time when she was working on the album, which eventually was called America's Sweetheart. And it's funny because the first volume of the manga raves about it and goes on about like the cover art, the music, and everything. And for those who don't know, it is considered like one of the worst albums, like not ever, but like a very bad album. And Courtney Love considers it her worst like music ever, and it has nothing but negative things to say about it. And it was not well received. It barely sold anything. So I just find it funny that
only solo album too.
Yes. Well, if you don't count the later whole album, whose name I can't remember. She whole technically reformed, but it was just Courtney Love and some other musicians. So technically that was the second solo album. But yeah, this was towards the end of like her active career, if you will. And she was also in a bunch of legal fights with Nirvana. Like this is when Nirvana was releasing that box set that had all like their unreleased stuff and a bunch of live things. And she was trying to block the release of it. And it was all this nonsense going on. It was a lot of stuff. She was an interesting figure at this point.
Yeah, so, and why she was involved with that, she was married to Kurt Cobain, lead guitarist, lead singer for Nirvana as well.
Yeah, and I don't want to get too deep in the weeds there, but like that was an interesting time of Oof. Anyway, I don't know. Like, it's funny because I don't know if Kent's meant to be Kurt Cobain.
Yes.
Like,
yes, he is. It's pretty obvious when you see him.
Okay, but like, but
his name's Kent. He has a guitar, long blonde hair, and blue eyes.
Okay, so let's get some brief plot stuff out the way. So like I, can sing, she can heal people. She discovers that very early on. The whole first volume, I think they think, as in like the people producing the manga, that they're going to have a longer run because for how quickly the second and third volumes move, the first one goes so slow. We know nothing really about like Island, which is, by the way, I'm not making that up. That's where she's from.
Yeah, which is funny. Stu Levy in the notes, and I think the second volume says that he laid out the trilogy all at once before they started actually producing the manga. So I don't know how true that is. Like if he's trying to save face later on.
Do you think that he's referring to the trilogy of the volume 1, 2, and 3, or the trilogy of I on Earth, I in Island, and then like the sequel trilogy? I don't know, but yeah. Technically,
I think in the second volume he says the 3 volumes, and then at the end of the third volume they call it a trilogy.
Well, I don't know if that it definitely doesn't feel like a trilogy to me.
It does,
but I will say this: like, I don't know if the writing was bad or if I'm freaking blind. Okay, it's probably both, but. Every time I read the plot synopses from like the future the volumes that comes next, it cleared everything up, and I had to go back and look, and I'm like, oh, because it's very important to note that when that thief steals her heart-shaped box, Ai's heart-shaped box, he passes out, and he's like, I feel sick, and then he passes out, and then like Kent, I called him Kurt. Kent still kicks him anyway or whatever.
I think I called him Kurt in all my notes.
So like that's very important later on because we learn that box is the whole cause of the war that got Ai sent to Earth in the first place. It's made of some energy source which you get from these like mythical beings called Dogen, who are very abstract, but the picture when they first describe them has like cyclopses and like centaurs and stuff. So I'm like, wait, are they just like fantasy beings? It's confusing. And the leader of the Dogen are angels. And we know there's a war going on with them in the first volume. Like Ai's people, whoever they are going to war with these people. But it's not until volume 2 that we learn that these angels and Dogen are going up against the humans, of which Ai is one of, even though we already know she has wings. And it's all over this energy source that you get derived from the blood of the Dogons, and that heart-shaped box is made of blood. Confusing.
It's made of the energy source that comes from the blood. It's weird. Yes.
Yeah, it's like I guess you just dry blood up until it becomes hard, and then you just like carve it into a heart-shaped box and then put jewels on it. But it's also kryptonite.
The name of that energy source is Tenketsu.
Tenketsu, which I think is like God's energy or something. If for those who don't know, like, and it's not even like I'd have to look that up. That just like the weeb way of making Japanese words. I'm sure is what Stu Levy did. He just put two. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's a real word. Like, he just like.
Depending on how you write it, I think it could also mean heaven's butt.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I don't think he knew because like I was looking it up to see if I looked up a lot of things.
Did we already mention that I means love? Can we just get that out of the way too?
Yeah,
Well,
and they bring it up a lot.
Yeah, they bring it up a lot, but I can also mean sorrow depending on how you write it. Thanks, Detective Conan.
Yeah, so I comes from Island, which I could not get over. Like I was just like, come on.
And to be clear for those who can't see it in text, it is spelled AI-land.
Yes. Just like it's not island or like like a land in the sea or whatever.
But they do make that joke.
They do. But yeah, and my other favorite part is, and I'm not making this up, she learns because I told you she's an amnesia, like that follows that trope, like the Breath of Fire trope, and who knows how many other video game tropes, the JRPG trope, so to say. She gets her memory back because Kent works at the Shinjuku College Library, and she spent most of the first volume like sneaking in because Kent and his friend the other friend likes her too, and they just let her sneak in, like even though it's a college library, and that go figure, the college library happens to have the history of Island in its shelves. I'm not making this up because I don't think I realized that she was reading the same book. I thought she was just reading every book, and the act of reading was getting her to remember. And then in part 2, the volume 2. It's literally called, I think I have it in my notes. It's literally called Human Historical Myth, the Era of the First Islandic Revolution. I'm not making that title. I had to write it down mainly because they said Islandic. And I'm like, are they seriously trying to make this into a thing? And I don't know if time passes differently in Island and if I is actually 1 billion years old, but that revolution involved Ai's father.
Mm-hmm.
Why the hell? I mean, how the hell, more accurately, would they already have written a mythical book about it?
Well, it does come from another world, apparently. So maybe someone just saw it and people said, yeah, no, you're hallucinating, and just said, we're just going to call this myth now.
Yeah, and just threw it on the shelf. Threw it on the shelf at Shinjuku College Library.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the manga is full of a lot of weird tropes that I don't like, both early 2000 tropes and bad anime tropes. There's a lot of gay characters, and I don't know if it's just me, but especially Kent's roommate just screams stereotypical, and I'm pretty sure that character would be written totally differently if
I wonder who he was based on in Courtney Love and or Stu Levy's real life.
Yes, okay. But yeah, also I glossed over it, but I end up working at a hostess
Club Cupid.
Yeah, Club Cupid, which is a weird. I don't know if Stu Levy and I'm not trying to attack Stu Levy's character and make a joke here. I'm being serious. I don't know if Stu Levy just wanted to throw all the nightlife scenes together, or if he was kind of confused. But not to say I've been to a lot either, but Club Cupid seems a weird mix between an outright strip club and a hostess club.
Yeah, that was confusing too, because it starts off and you think, oh, it's like some kind of maybe strip club cabaret, but no, it's just like a hostess club after that, where sometimes they sing.
Which is weird because that's not really the case. Those are two completely different stages of cost to the consumer, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
What? Okay, I don't know how to put this to clarify more. The whole hostess thing is a very expensive, process, a very expensive thing to get into on a consumer level, and it would very much lower the value of the whole interaction if you could also just see them naked in the same night you were paying to drink with them. And I just find that weird that they were mixing that together. And I'm like, Stu, what are you writing here? This is not the way any of these work. But yeah, and that's when I first you start realizing she has song powers, because even though everyone's take off your top, her songs get them to be hey, I actually kind of love this. And B, I'll ask you first because I think you checked them out the most. How would you describe the music within Princess Ai's world? Because it exists, guys.
Well, so first it was interesting how she started a rock band, right? She started Hole at the club, and
oh yeah, she did.
At first everyone's like, what is this? Why are you playing that kind of music or whatever? I don't remember the exact details, because they had they had musicians, but it was oh, why is it this kind of music, whatever. But yeah, so I didn't know that that they had, or I did know, but I hadn't listened to the real music produced for the manga until Manuel told us about it, like right before we started recording. And yeah, I gave it a listen. Bad. I would describe it as bad. It's just like the most middle of the road, like sort of alternative rock, sort of 90s influenced post
Yeah,
grunge type garbage.
it's weird because like I don't mean this as praise, but I mean this as in like why. But like it seems weirdly almost ahead of its time because like nostalgia for that sound hadn't set in at all. So like this is like at the point when these released, which is around 2004 2006, the period between like the volumes getting released, I should say, and when the songs were released, this was like a very not retro sound, but this is a very old sound. It's almost like boomer music that the young people were not listening to that kind of stuff on the radio. Even Courtney Love's American Sweetheart album was totally different than what Hole was doing. And honestly, I'm not a huge fan of Hole, the band. I keep saying Hole wrong, don't I? But yeah, I'm not a big fan of Hole, the band. But I've heard enough stuff, and it's a billion times better than the Princess Ai songs, which by the way are not sung by Courtney Love, and only one song, which is the song featured in Volume 1. Only one song seems to be written by Courtney Love even a little bit, and all the others are for sure not. All the others are written just by Stu Levy.
Yeah,
or sorry,
Levy
DJ
seems
Milky.
really DJ Milky seems really proud of his lyrics. In the other volumes, they're all laid out. He's like, here for your, enjoyment, entertainment. Here's the
I
entire
know.
songs. And I'm like, I don't want to read that. These are bad.
They are. Okay, they're even worse when you see the lyrics laid out because like they're like emo and angst-ridden kind of lyrics, and
They're very like teenager writing their first song or poetry. Like every single line has to rhyme because songs rhyme,
Yep.
And they're just so bad.
And I did the math. Stu Levy, and not to say you can't like write that stuff, but it's just I don't know if Stu Levy had these sitting in a notebook, like, a black notebook from like his youth. But Stu Levy was already well nearing his 40s by the time this manga came out. It's like me writing that thing now, like being super emo and everything. Like, yeah, I got the perfect. Actually, it would probably be a hit now, I think, because like there's a bit of 90s nostalgia going around, which, like I said, was a bit ahead of its time when Stu Levy was doing this 20 years ago. But yeah, also, I feel like I'm going to forget to say this. I don't want to make it sound like, oh, if you like this music, you're a bad person or you have bad taste, because apparently this is very nostalgic to some people. According to the YouTube comments I came across, some people grew up with this and seem to love it. There's a song that's featured in Volume 2 called Broken Leash, which I think is her debut single, Ai's debut single within the world of Princess Ai, and everyone seems to love that one. That somebody in the
Broken
comments,
Leash is the one I listened to.
Yeah, someone in the comments, and I don't know if you read that, B, but someone in the comments only a couple years ago mentioned that that was like their favorite song of all time, and I'm like, wow.
Okay, there's not much
Yeah.
song there.
Exactly. And part of me is also almost a little jealous of DJ Milky, Stu Levy. I'm like, damn, I wish I could write someone's favorite song of all time that they actually remembered 20 years later.
I say, and going off that, when we're getting much later in the manga, though, like it seems to go like viral overnight in 2004. It seems to be the biggest thing on Earth after a day of just being out.
Mm-hmm.
So the outfit she wears, and it's also in the cover of part 2, the outfit she wears to the music video for Broken Leash, which, by the way, I love how on the music video is different, but I want to see the music video they created in universe, because it must be the most on the nose thing ever. They had dogs in it and everything.
I mean, they did create it in universe. They're doing it. They said, "Oh yeah, we're recording the song today. We're shooting the music video tomorrow," and then it's just automatically hit. It's just weird.
To be fair, I do want to
comment on it. He's like, "Oh, we're ready to do the rough cut," and she's like, "Really? We just recorded?"
Yeah, I do want to mention that, like, the Japanese. Not to say I'm super well versed in this, but the Japanese music industry does move a lot faster, especially when you're like, I think they were kind of pushing her to be like an idol type figure at first, especially judging by the agency. So like, you have to like move. You have to be like, record it. While we're filming the video, we're already writing your second single and we're recording it next week, and then you're going to be singing the first one and getting ready for the second, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
they do know that within like a matter of weeks, she's recorded parts of 30 songs already.
Yeah, and she recorded a whole album that they released. What's the album's name? I have it in my notes somewhere too. The album Angelic Confessions, which they mentioned sold 10 million copies in Japan. And this is before she becomes world famous, which does happen. But 10 million copies in Japan, especially at that time, not only would make it the best-selling album by far, actually not by far, but it makes it the best-selling album of all time, but that's about pretty close to a tenth of Japan's population apparently bought the album, which is an insane figure when you think about things like that. And I'm just like, wow, they're kind of putting on a little thick that her music really is like changing the world. So yeah, jumping back to her music, I mean, jumping away from her music a bit, I feel like we don't mention it that much, but also because it's honestly not that important until the end of each chapter. She's still being chased by like the people from Island, and there's two people who are discussing Ai's fate at the beginning. One's named Kaz and one's named Nora. And I don't know about you guys, I didn't notice that Kaz was the one who's by himself from volume 2 on. I thought that was a new angel. I was so confused until I read the synopsis. I'm like, oh, that was Kaz again. Like, he's drawn differently, and he's like a lot lankier, and he's like taller. But I'll save the whole discussion for this later. It wasn't until like towards the end that I realized that Nora looks a lot like Kent, and I went back to look. I thought I missed something. Nora disappears after volume 1, which blows my mind. Like, I thought he got killed. Like, I'm like, wait, did Kaz kill him? Because I was confused for a minute, and I had to go back, and no, he just stops appearing.
Yeah, and they are two of the leaders of the attempted Dogen second revolution in Island. So they're kind of conflicted on how exactly they go about that, either a peaceful method for Nora or a more violent method for Kaz.
Yep. Either way, Princess Ai is sent to Earth, like we said, and Kaz and Nora are still like, what are we gonna do? And Kaz is like, well, what do you mean what we're gonna do? We're gonna send people to go bring Ai back. So like he starts sending like these three creatures, 3 Dogen, 3 sisters named the Furies. Tess. I'm looking at their names. Sorry, I know the other one's Maggie or something. Meggie. Oh, Meggie. Tess, Meggie, and Alexa.
Lexa, sorry. Yeah, but they are named after the 3 mythological Furies.
Oh, really? Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Tisiphone, Megara, and is it Electra?
I don't remember.
Hold on, my Alexa's doing stupid shit. Alexa, stop. Sorry, I forgot that would happen. I have read 100% volume too, so it got really loud. But yeah, I didn't notice that. That's interesting.
Yeah, I recognize it because I play a lot of Hades.
Ah. But yeah, so like these 3 Furies go after her. We'll save the ending for the end, but like Tess quickly becomes Ai's bodyguard because
Manuel,
like the music.
Quick correction.
What?
It's Electo, sorry, not Electra.
Oh, Electo.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Tess becomes Ai's bodyguard in volume 3. But yeah, and then they fight a little. It's whatever. I actually thought that they were sent there to kill her, which I went back and they didn't say that. I just assumed they were going to kill her. But at the end of volume 3-ish, they're like, we're not supposed to kill her. We're supposed to capture her. And I'm like, really? Like, why were you being so forceful about it?
Yeah, I think I had also thought they were there to kill her.
So yeah, this whole thing is written so weirdly because I don't think those 2 plots ever really come together in a cohesive way. Did you guys feel that way? Like the Island plot and the Earth plot?
No, not really.
Yeah, they really existed apart from each other. And like every so often I'm like, oh my god, the Furies, I forgot about them, Like, and I think Stu forgot about them too.
It was very awkwardly plotted in general.
Yeah, and Kaz and Ai never meet. Spoiler alert, like she never goes to Island within the series. She learns about the whole Dogen thing. She learns about the war, which by the way, they call it the second revolution because there was a first. And that's the history of the first Islandic revolution, which Nora led.
It is kind of strange, though, that they're already calling it the first revolution when they don't know the second one's been going on.
Exactly. Wouldn't that just be the revolution? Like, why would
they're just planning ahead?
I know, because once again, I don't want to like why would the book call it that? Like, who wrote this book? When was it written? How did it get to Shinjuku? Like, it is the most plot device I've ever seen. It is the most MacGuffin that ever MacGuffined.
Well, I mean, clearly Fa-On brought it because he just kind of shows up whenever he's needed.
Okay, did you realize that Fa-On is a Dogen too?
I mean, I figured he was an islander or some kind of, like mystical being just in general because he keeps popping up wherever he's needed and then just disappears like he's Batman.
At the end, he's the bird, isn't he? And he's like, why did it was me of you who called me the bird of death or whatever?
Yes.
Yeah. Which, by the way, did you know he was popping up? Because I missed that. I had to go back and look. But the reason I know he's a Dogen, and I don't know if you missed this, but whenever I mentions it towards the end that humans are represented by roses and Dogen are represented by anemones.
Anemones.
I don't know how to pronounce that. It's another flower. But I didn't notice this at all. Thank you, Stu Levy, for your plot synopses in the start of each chapter. In chapter 2, they mention that when she first meets Fa-On, that when he leaves, all that was left was an anemone, whatever, the flower.
This is turning into Finding Nemo right now.
Yes. So, I'm not doing a bit. I really cannot say that word. Anyways, they mentioned that all that was there was that flower, and I'm like, wait, so he's a Dogen? I'm just confused. Like, I don't know. But yeah, the island stuff is weird. Obviously, I start getting wings partway through her music career. They just spring out of her back and they start turning more and more red as she does stuff. She also bleeds red, she cries red, which is even more ridiculous.
Oh yeah, if she bled red, that would just be kind of normal.
Yeah, like what's Manuel saying? like that sounds normal to me, but no, she cries red. And she kind of really realizes her powers in a couple key moments, but one of them is she goes to like the rooftop because first of all, she joins the agency. The agency is like the shadiest Yakuza-led like record company that ever existed. Yeah. They're like, yeah. They seem like ready to like. Did you guys notice the Kurt Cobain reference?
Which one?
Okay, the one that they named him out loud.
Yes.
Yeah, at the end. Because
they seem ready to like music martyr her, or whatever that term would be, like from the get-go. They're all like,
they're like, if she dies, she'll be a huge like not hit, but they said something, but they're like, yeah, it's just like Jimi Hendrix or Kurt Cobain.
I was like, oh my god.
At that time, she'll have one album that had been out for maybe a couple months.
I know. It's just wild. First of all, I wonder if Courtney Love knew that he got name dropped like that. This is not at all comparable to it, I know. But I remember when Courtney Love, like, there was this huge controversy where she signed off on, like, Guitar Hero using Kurt Cobain.
Yeah, Guitar Hero 5.
Yeah, and then she was shocked when they put him in, like, that you could just be his skin to sing any song, basically.
As someone who's a big fan of Nirvana, it's kind of hilarious just to hear him sing something completely out of his, like, range.
Like, yeah, obviously Courtney would probably know better than me, but I would like to think that Kurt would find the humor in that. I know I would. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I know
she tried to sue Activision for that.
Yeah, and I'm like, who is her lawyer? Who did not read that? Who did not explain that to her? Like, obviously she never played Guitar Hero before, but like, it wasn't like that was a new feature that Guitar Hero 5 added. So yeah. Was it 5? What does it matter?
Actually, it might have been. I think that was the first one with selectable playable singers, including real people.
Actually, it probably was singers, because I was going to say, like, you could play a Slash in, like, part 3.
Because Jimi Hendrix is also in that game, but you can only play him for his songs.
Oh, so I was going to say, his estate actually was like, hold on a minute. I like how somehow, even though it was a very loose connection, somehow we worked in Jimi Hendrix again, because he was mentioned in that scene too.
But yeah. They both also members of Club 27.
Yes, Club 27, the people who passed away.
There was a third person mentioned in the scene. I just don't remember who it was.
Do I have it in my list? I don't remember.
Another dead rock star.
Jim Morrison, maybe?
I don't think they named dropped
probably.
Even though he'd be the obvious. I'm going to look it up real fast. I have the manga right here.
James Dean, not a rock star, but still an icon who died very young.
But yeah, so she works for this agency that's very like Yakuza-ish. I like how she meets them through one of the VIPs from the club. His name is Takeshi. Yeah, like Takeshi's challenge. But yeah, she meets him like, you know, through Takeshi, sorry. And I don't think they reveal it. Then in part 2 they show him like in the pool, and he's like covered in tattoos. And like
he gets no Bond girl introduction that way.
Yeah, they're not even Yakuza looking tattoos, by the way. I just feel like, I don't know, like maybe Misaho Kujiradou like had a bit more say in it, and I'm just putting like things in Stu Levy's mouth that were he didn't say. But I have a feeling like Stu Levy's like, no, this is the way, like, you know, this is the way Japan is, and she's like, okay, you know. But yeah, so the agency's kind of shady, and at one point she goes up to the rooftop to go get away from them because they won't let her like see anyone or do anything. They're protecting her, quote unquote. And when she goes upstairs to the rooftop, there's another like idol person there who's like, oh, they cast me aside because of you, basically, you know, because of I. And she's about to unalive herself, so to speak. And I don't know if that's a reference. I think I'm thinking too far ahead. You might know who I'm talking about. I won't mention them because I don't want to go down the whole rabbit hole there. But the fact that there's somebody on the top of the register agency building about to unalive themselves, I'm like, that felt a little referential. I'm sure Stu Levy might have known about it, but I was definitely not.
What are we doing here?
Well, we're doing the TikTok thing. We can't say that word, you know, even though I don't know if
Spotify
cares.
I'm not a TikToker. I'm an adult.
So there's a lady who's gonna jump off the building. She's gonna commit suicide. I should just say it because the song from that scene is called Suicide. What's it called? I'm like so confident about what I was going to say that I'm like, hold on, I want to see what the song's called. I was going to say it had the word suicide in it. It's called Suicide Ride. God, that's terrible. So yeah, it's even more terrible than I thought. And I'm not joking. She sings this song about suicide to this girl about to commit suicide, and it convinces her to not do it, which is funny because I doesn't know that at first. She gets lost in her song, and then she stops. She's like, oh my God, did she jump? And I'm like, whoa, they put the joke there. And she's like, no, I decided not to. But I listened to that song, and you see the scene, and you assume that she's singing a ballad. And she's acapellaing it, so I guess you could say whatever the hell. You assume it's a ballad. You assume it's a slow song. Then you hear Suicide Ride, what Stu Levy wrote and produced with who knows who the hell the band was. And this is more generic, you know, grunge-inspired alt-rock nonsense. And it's just like, what? Like, I don't want to make this joke, but I'm going to fucking make the joke. We went this far already. It's like, I don't know if I would stayed on that building if somebody started playing that song to me. I'm like, yeah, I'm getting away from this. Like, this is the sign I needed. This is my.
It's like, this is the best you can do.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oops, this is my sign. Peace.
But through the power of eye magic, it does convince her to remember the few fans who really love what she puts out.
Yeah,
and she'll keep going for that. And this also convinces Ai, gives her the determination to use music to bring peace to the world. Yeah, she's going to be the Wild Stallions, everyone.
Exactly. So, yeah, I'm like, dude, it's like, did you watch Bill and Ted? I feel like this is all Bill and Ted. Like, and she's just as bad. No, I'm just kidding. No, for those who have never seen Bill and Ted, the whole joke is that they can't play. They know they're going to save the world through music, but they can't play. But I guess Ai was like has her head, you know, far up her. No, I shouldn't say that far. Yeah. Apparently, she's good in universe.
Yeah,
I don't know, but like. And I also was very annoyed whenever she would play live. I don't know if this was just like weird writing, but it just came off very obnoxious the way she'd get on stage. She's like, I want to rock out. It's time for some rock. Like, let's get punked up or whatever. She would say some stupid shit like that every time she would go on stage. And it's just like, oh my God.
It's just someone's poor attempt at writing someone trying to hype up an audience.
And then you would hear that. And then it's even funnier when you hear the music, which, by the way, I made an effort that once I discovered the songs that when, I discovered them in volume 2, so I missed out in volume 1, but I would play the song during the scene they were in because I'm like, I need to see what the audience is hearing or, you know, what the universe people are hearing. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know about this dog. Oh, speaking of dogs, the dogs in the music video are all mean. They're like, don't get near them. They're riled up. And then like she like goes and pets them, and they become all nice, and it's like, oh, I guess you can affect dogs too. But anyway. So, do you guys want to talk about the big plot reveal about what the heart-shaped box is? And I know I already hinted at it, but like the actual thing, I already kind of hinted. I said it's like kryptonite. You guys want to talk about that when the plot really moves to the end?
So yeah, as we were talking, the heart-shaped box is made of tenketsu, forged from the blood of angels. Apparently, it was a gift from her mother. Actually, we originally think her mother is Queen Lilith of Island, wife of King. What was his name? King Se. Thank you. But we apparently later learned that no, Lilith isn't actually her mother. Her mother is a Dogen, and thus Ai is one of the few, if not the only, like human Dogen hybrid. Apparently, also an angel Dogen, which gives her all her weird powers. Which is exactly the same as how Kent Cobain is half American and half Japanese.
Yes. Kent Cobain.
He never gets a last name. You might as well.
I hated his name was Kent, by the way. I just hated that name. I hated that name. I mean, first of all, just call him Kurt. Like, put it with the C if you want to be cute. But like, I don't know. I just didn't like Kent. I just hate that. I just hate that name. I apologize, Kents to the world. But like,
especially Clark Kent. We mean nothing bad to you. Please don't write a bad article on us.
Exactly, please. But yeah, so the heart-shaped box. Well, earlier on, she opens it, and it turns out there's a pendant inside. And I don't know if you guys really followed this, because once again the plot synopsis has helped me out here. But when she opens it, it's a picture of her father, King Se, and Nora.
Yes, and then that later morphs into a picture of Kent.
I find it so crazy when it's revealed Ai's relationship with Nora. They kind of downplay it, I think, because when she's telling the story to her best friend Jen, who she met at Club Cupid, who's like follows her throughout her career because she invites her along to have a friend along. When she's telling her the story, she's like, I became really close to. But when they show the flashback, it's revealed that Nora is the one who sent her to Earth. And they were in love because they are kissing. And I'm like, I get that she had amnesia, but she literally fell in love with Kent minutes later. Minutes.
Well, amnesia is very powerful.
And they look very similar.
Are Kurt Cobain's striking blue eyes or whatever.
So that's actually why I didn't notice really the whole Nora thing. Like I remember, I thought she was remembering Nora, and then even part of my dumb ass was all like, "Oh, are Nora and Kent the same person?" I'm like, "No, they can't be." But in my head, I was thinking that because I'm like, "Oh, there has to be a connection between them." It's like the Tita Shuyin thing from like Final Fantasy X. It has to be, but no, that's not. At least as far as I know, I don't know what they do in the sequel, but it just, she was in love with Nora, and she has this whole thing about like, I will never like abandon another person I love. I'm like, bro, he's still alive. He's waiting for you over there. And I'm like, and she brings this whole thing to Kent. And don't get me wrong, like people are allowed to like fall in love with whoever they fall in love with, whatever. I get it. But I'm like, poor Nora. He probably like, wait, what? I sent you there to be safe.
I would assume he thought it was broken off by the time he sent her to another world.
But I just found that hilarious. I'm like, oh my god. Also, were they together before or after the first revolution? There's a lot of time jumpy things that just don't make much sense.
I think it definitely had to be after, because we know King Se did the first revolution. I'd assume she was born sometime afterwards.
So I'm just confused about like, but then Nora led it. It's revealed like in the book or whatever that Nora led that revolution. So I'm just, I don't know. Maybe the angels just, maybe everyone just lives different lives. I mean, it's in like different lanes, but they call them human. So I don't know. But anyway.
So yes, while I is also like gaining fame as a pop star, she's separated from Kent for this time, and they're like trying to figure out how to communicate with each other, how to get back together. Kent ends up pulling a say anything, but gets interrupted by security.
That's how I gets the book, by the way.
But they eventually get back together. Like
he stole that
at one of her concerts when Tess, the first of the Furies to come to Earth, attacks, and then he's just like, her hanger on for the rest of the manga.
I didn't like Kent the second half of the series. If you want to even say he had a character in the first, he lost all of his character by the end. He is just like a plot device. Like he is literally, when you put Kent, Ai's love interest. That's it. Period. Like, did you guys think he had any characterization by the second half? I don't think he had any at all. By the second half, he just exists. It's wild how he just exists. But yeah, she gives Kent the locket that's inside that now has his picture in it, and she learns later on, which I love how it happens. She's having this very Mana-esque autograph session where she's like on a stage and she's just like, it's all gothic Lolita. Even the little table she has, this little round table with like this frilly table cover thing on it, and I'm like, what kind of autograph session is this? And while she's having that, one of her manager's lackeys sees the box. It's like, bro, I'm gonna steal that. And I kept thinking there was more to it, but no, this dude just saw it and wanted to steal it. That was just, I'm like, what a weird plot device they're putting in here. And so he breaks into her apartment and steals it. And as she's trying to get away, Jen, her friend, wakes up, sees him trying to steal it, and they fight over the box. I can't wake up. They go in there, and by now, I don't know why I'm laughing about this. I just found this so ridiculous of a way to like justice for Jen. They did her wrong in this writing. The box killed her and the thief. Because apparently Tenketsu is basically like kryptonite uranium to humans. Like, it just kills them, which they kind of just leave it there. But that thief from Volume 1 is probably dead on the streets. He held it a lot longer than Jen did. And even for some reason, it doesn't affect Ai, which I guess is her mixed blood, because even when Dogen touch it, like they get like drugged or whatever. They have it has a narcotic feel or whatever. So yeah, by the end of the last volume, it's the Ai has a world tour. The agency has this huge this huge mega plan to kill her.
Yeah, because it involves like a cult as well that is like formed around. I'm sorry, there's another cult, but there's also just the cult that the one guy Zorora is leading.
So there were like 3 cults in this manga, and I'm like, they all had no time to really breathe. So when I was getting famous, there's this cult that shows up, and they're like, "Oh, we love Ai. Ai's our like goddess or whatever. We follow the words of." What was his name? Sir something? I have it in my notes somewhere.
I don't remember.
Doesn't matter. They're like, oh, we follow the teachings of this. He sounds like a knight, and I have it, Sir Edwin. Sir Edwin. We follow Sir Edwin's teachings, and I thought that they were the same cult that is like preaching against Ai, because they have their own like Westboro Baptist Church type people who are like, Ai's the devil. It's the devil's music. So I was confused by that, and. I was not expecting those Sir Edwin people to come up again. We'll save them, like put a pin in that. But those Sir Edwin cultists are a different cult. I don't know if the Westboro Baptist people were the same cult of the Zora guy, but the Zora guy has a cult.
Yeah, there's the pro-Ai cult, the anti-Ai cult, and then Zorora's cult, which is completely unrelated to the other two.
Exactly, because they do show the cultists and they look like normal people, because the anti-Ai cult like wearing like hazmat suits. Well, actually, I don't know. Okay, at one point, I think attacks them and she's like, "Oh, you're wearing like, you know," and I was thinking the same thing she said. I don't know if I want to say it, but like, you know, she compares them to a certain like, you know,
they're wearing discount clan robes essentially.
Yes, exactly. And I was like, oh, they kind of are, and that's actually what I was thinking too. I was surprised they brought that up in the manga. I don't know. I feel like these cults, there's so many cults here. I'm like, what is this? But yeah, so like literally the head of this agency, the Yakuza guy Hayabusa, he has like a quadruple fail-safe method to kill Ai. I'm not exaggerating. I think the first step is that
Takeshi.
Takeshi's supposed to kill her. And
live on stage.
Yes, live on stage. And if he does it, then the manager's supposed to kill her. But
Hiro.
no matter what, no matter what, if Takeshi does kill her, Hiro's going to kill Takeshi. And I guess Takeshi dies, because Hiro's supposed to kill Takeshi and pin it all on him, whether he did it or not. But if none of that happens, the cultists who are creating a distraction in the in the actual audience are going to kill her. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, this is all so much. I'm like, oh my god, do we need the cultists? Did we need the cultists?
No, not really.
And they have this whole idea that when she's dead, because I don't know if she signed a fucked up contract, that they have all of her rights forever. They're going to keep republishing that CD with different versions and all the DVDs. And I don't know if Courtney Love was still in the writing process here, or if maybe this is just Stu Levy's idea. But that sounds a lot like the Nirvana box set that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, but Nirvana had been going on for more than 2 months at this.
That is
when
true.
Kurt died.
Because that box set scraped the barrel. Like, it just found like every obscure piece of recorded anything that they could have possibly had. Which some people would want, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. Like, I'm not like exactly like the most musician out there. But if I passed away, I wouldn't want people digging up my old recordings and putting them out,
Yeah.
That's just weird. But anyway.
And while this plot to assassinate Ai is going on, there's another plot by the Furies.
Oh, yes. Okay, so they're getting ready to attack. There's now 2 of them. Maggie
and Alexa, as Tess is now on Ai's side and working as her bodyguard.
Yeah, so Maggie had actually attacked Ai during when they were on the bus, which, by the way, no one told the cops about Jen, which I loved.
No kid called the cops eventually.
Yeah, eventually. But I love how like they just left 2 dead people in the apartment. It's like, man, Japan. But yeah, so when they were on the tour bus going to Osaka, which by the way is where the big 100,000 final concert of her world tour, like she had I don't know where else she went, but she was in Australia when the chapter began. There was a bit of a time skip.
I believe it said she also toured in LA and London. So at least 4 cities.
It's a true Japanese world tour.
Yeah,
if you know, you know. Yeah, if you know, you know. Then again, they went to Australia, so like that's kind of a bit of a
yeah. Usually weird. A world tour just means LA and New York.
Exactly. And real tour, guys, and they hit they hit everywhere in Japan, and they add those dates in there too, like anyone cares. Not to say Japan doesn't care, but you know what I mean. It's like you can't just call it a world tour when you came to like exactly LA and New York. But anyway, her big show's in Osaka, and while she's busting there, Maggie shows up, and Tess fights her off with flowers, which she's like allergic to. Which is just the most random plot device ever. Or I don't know if she's scared of them or what, but they drive her away.
There's some joke about how she uses poisoned words, and flowers are the opposite of that.
Oh, I see. I missed that part. But she does use poisoned words. She talks a lot of shit. She actually brings up what I mentioned earlier in the final fight in Osaka, where she's all like, "Oh, like you go through men like like so quickly or whatever," which is the only time anyone else has mentioned the Nora thing. Which I'm just like, bro, Nora's still waiting for you. And in my head, I'm like, honestly, if I was writing this, Nora would be the love interest. Because that makes the most sense plot-wise, dramatic-wise, everything-wise.
The problem with that, though, is that Nora's name doesn't sound like Kurt.
Exactly. But then who the fuck wrote this? Because why the fuck wasn't that Kent?
DJ Levy. DJ Milky.
Why wasn't that Kurt? Why wasn't that like, Angel Kurt or whatever? And I remember thinking this. Right as the plot's about to unfold, like Ai goes on stage, does her music, it's another like generic alt rock thing. Her wings are like.
Can we also talk about the stage? She emerges out of a coffin in this final show, and it's a scene for a murder.
She does emerge out of a coffin, and she like I don't know if you guys thought the same thing I did, because this is also I think the cover image of Volume 3. It looks nothing like her in my opinion. I'm like, who the hell designed this? Ai Yazawa, but no, I'm just kidding. It looks nothing like her. It's kind of off model, I think. But she does come out of a coffin. She starts doing her song, and the plan's about to start going in motion. And then the Furies show up. And I actually thought for a second that the Yakuza people would be like, "Kill the Furies," but
nobody apparently sees it because nobody's looking up in the rafters to make sure there are no effects or lighting going on.
Kent is though.
Yeah.
But yeah, they fight a little. You gonna say something, B?
Nope.
Oh, so they fight a little. And I was just like, when I was reading this the first time, I had stopped around here because this is around the time when I told you when like, I think it's Negi who has the whole thing about like, oh, you're getting over like love. And she kind of references Nora. And in my head, I'm like, this is bad writing. Kent is a shitty character, and I'm not saying Nora is any better because you barely see him, but at least Nora makes more sense for the plot, like a Romeo and Juliet type story. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So it makes sense. And like obviously, like and I think they even implying that that's kind of the only way to really like end the war because like Ai is like a half, like a half Dogen, half human. And I'm like, she should really be with him. Who the fuck is this Kent guy? He gets in the way. and then when they're about to fight, I still don't know if it's Alexa or Negi who shoots the arrow. I assume it's Meggy because she wants to kill Ai and not capture her. She shoots an arrow, and Kent jumps in front of it. And I was like, oh my god, I didn't mean to actually kill him.
Well, that's what happened in real life. Kurt jumped in
front of an arrow. No,
it's an arrow of pure Tenketsu, so clearly it was going to kill any human it came in contact with. It might have just kind of weakened Ai, but it kills Kent.
Yeah, it kills Kent because it is. Actually, it makes sense, Tenketsu. I totally missed that. I just thought it was poison. I did know it was like a poison arrow. I guess I missed the Tenketsu part. But she shoots it at him. It hits him. He dies. Ai's like has this whole moment there where she's like, no, you can't die. And then she becomes evil Ai.
Yeah, and she's apparently her music powers work by like telepathy, empathy at a distance. So the audience starts getting in on it, and Zoro's men take that as a cue to actually do the murder.
So, it's, by the way, I'm more curious if whether Zora's men were immune to Ai's power, because that's a more interesting plot point. Like I wish this whole story had more room to breathe, because part of me wonders if there are humans who are immune to her power in general. Because not only apparently did they not care about like that she's singing about peace and love or whatever, not even peace and love, but she's like inspiring peace and love. When everyone's going batshit crazy, they're able to still be like, oh, batshit crazy, but like, hey, let's go do the plan,
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if they're just immune or what the hell is going on there. But then someone starts to fire, which is, I think it's funny because they don't mention that fire anymore. And I'm like, bro, the stage is on fire. Somebody needs to address that. And then the audience starts pushing each other and fighting. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, what's happening? And then like Ai's just like, once again, like I said, she's literally evil Ai. And I don't know if you guys like are internally online watching like brain rot videos like I am.
I'm not.
But it reminds me of the whole like the cats and like Evil Larry. It's like, and like Evil Burger. It's like, oh, I think I sent you Evil Burger memes before, B. But it's like I thought I was eating I thought it was normal burger, but it turned out it was Evil Burger.
Oh, this sounds like some garbage you sent me.
How are you simultaneously a boomer but also completely into like this?
It's a skill. It's a skill. My brain's just rotting from both ends. But yes, because it honestly reminded me of that because of how like quickly it happens and how like once again, I'm sure that like I don't know. I can't speak for the writers, but like I would like to think that they would pace this out better because it happened so fast, and there was no hint of it earlier. I would have found this less stupid if like maybe she like. When she was getting mad at the agency, if maybe she sang a song angrily and then somebody punched someone in the studio or something. You know what I mean? Like there was a hint at it before. But we learned about this
is
there.
Just the effect of two very inexperienced writers who happen to have a platform that can't tell them no.
Exactly. Like they are the platform. So yeah, she gets angry, like, and they start fighting. It's actually funny because for like a hot second, I was like, is Tess gonna betray her now? Because like Tess almost is like, well, I guess let's just capture her, like because Tess I think just wants her to stop.
Yeah, I think Tess, at least on some level, understands that this is a reaction to having two friends die in one day because it is still the same day Jen died.
Yes.
They somehow drove from Tokyo to Osaka in record time because I think it takes about 7 hours, and it's still like daylight when they get there.
Exactly. So yeah, it's wild. The time, this is Game of Thrones season 8, type time travel. Time travel. I mean, just travel in general. If you don't remember,
I think that's more just there's nothing interesting happening on while they're traveling. But yes, go ahead.
But yeah. So anyway, they get into the fight. Like, I think Alexa's having more like the actual like fight going on here.
Yes, this is Alexa. Like comes down to stage, calls Ai Destroyer, who will never understand real suffering, which. I guess she's a princess. She hadn't had to suffer much before she got here. and I just like, you can all die. I've been through way too much today.
Yeah. Also, there was not to jump back in the plot too much, but there's a scene when they reveal that like her mom isn't her mom. It's a scene where she was getting bullied by like random kids in Island. Which, first of all, you're the fucking princess. Your dad's the king. It's like say one more thing. You're getting executed tomorrow. Yes, exactly. Say one more thing. Say it. Well, that aside, that would have been the perfect time, especially because it was a flashback. It doesn't matter to the plot. That would have been the perfect time to have hinted about her evil powers. And I remember thinking that too. I'm like, this is such a bad plot reveal. Also, speaking of speaking of bad power reveals, it's learned that Alexa, I keep wanting to call her Scarlet. Turns out Alexa can like, oh god, my Alexa keeps going off. Alexa, but yeah, it turns out that she can stop time. And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, it seemed like the right thing to do. She actually says that. And I don't know if like Stu realizes like, oh shit, I kind of set a literal fire on the stage. And realistically, if the audience fights for more than a couple minutes, like realistically speaking, people are gonna die. Like literally, because that's the way it works when you have 100,000 people in a tight space and they all start rioting. And I think he kind of realized like, wait, unless the scene ends here, like, and I get to recover her senses like in a minute or two, I have to freeze time.
And it's also at this time that Takeshi kind of moves into action, a bit more sure that he's going to kill Ai, but even then he starts wavering.
Yeah, I love that he like had fallen in love with her, sorta. Like everyone's kind of falling for her at some point, and I'm like, oh my god, what is this plot? What is this plot? And so yeah, actually, do you guys understand how she broke out of it? I mean, I know the final thing that really breaks her out of it, but do you understand how she broke out of it? Because like I'm going back to it and I'm like, how did she end out of this?
I don't even remember.
It's like Kent's spirit appears to her saying, yeah, no, this isn't the right thing to do, and she stops.
Yeah, and then it turns out because she had given Kent that pendant earlier, and she even says, she's like, I don't know what it is, but something tells me you have to wear this.
Oh, I forgot about that too.
It blocked the arrow. It blocked the arrow and Kent's alive. And this whole time I'm reading it, I'm like, what about Jen? She's still dead. And she's still left in that.
She didn't get a pendant.
She's still in the apartment or the hotel or whatever room that is.
The condo.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my god, like she's still dead. I still feel sorry for Jen. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if this was like, The Walking Dead has taught me this or whatever, but like she kind of had weird characterization in the beginning, like her and Kent's roommate Hikaru, like the overly the super hyper gay one I mentioned earlier that felt like a walking stereotype. Him and her have like a moment together. And they have like almost a whole chapter together. I'm like, first of all, you guys do not have time for this. Like, you have a lot of plot going on. You guys need to wrap it up. But I'm like, she is getting too much characterization. Something's gonna happen to one of these two, maybe both. Like, I don't think they get kidnapped. I thought it'd be typical manga nonsense. I didn't think they die. But yeah. Kent's alive, and I like gets the crowd back under her control. The fire stops. I'm like, bro, that fire was totally like, it looked pretty big last time we saw it. And I don't even know. Like, I thought the story was badly written up to this point, and I thought it was going to end on a better cliffhanger. I knew it was going to end on a cliffhanger because we have like pages left. And I'm like, what is going to happen? She still has to go to Island. She's barely even convincing like the Furies to stop killing her or whatever. Like, what's going to happen? And then everything wraps up in pages. It turns out that Hayabusa being the leader of the agency, the Yakuza guy, had been like, his secretary had been recording all their calls or all their meetings, and she's a cop.
Yeah. And so he's arrested for conspiracy to commit murder, tax evasion, assault and battery, extortion, bribing a police officer, parking in a handicap spot, jaywalking, and some other things.
Yes, my favorite thing is that it was the parking in a handicap spot and jaywalking. Like, what the fuck? What is happening here? But yeah, so she arrests him, and then even cops arrest Hiro, the manager. He's like, "Hey, you're the one who actually fired the shot or whatever."
Yeah, attempted murder, Manuel.
I mean, it is attempted murder, but I just thought that was pretty funny. I'm like, okay, that was just to get him out the way. Like, I don't know, like that was just I felt so like contrived. But honestly, I probably could have dealt.
Thing was contrived.
I could have dealt with the fucking undercover cop angle, fine, and that's whatever. It's the next part that got me. The next part when like Tess and the other Furies are like, what are we gonna do now? And she's like, well, I need to go back to Island and save everyone. Which, by the way, implies they kind of imply she's never gonna see Kent again, which I find funny. I'm like, why'd they bring him back to life then? Like they could have just done the spirit thing and bring back Good Eye through that. Like, why bring him back to life and they're going to separate? Because she's like, I'll always be with you or whatever. But anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. So they're like, what are we going to do? How do we get to Island? And the Fury's like, we don't know. Ever since like all that nonsense happened, we can't communicate with Island either. And then the cult comes back. It is like if it wasn't for the fact that they gave them such a weird random characterization in the middle of volume 2, I would have swore that this was like that Stu Levy had to write himself out of a plot hole. I would have swore that he had to have done it. Maybe he still did. Maybe he wrote it just like he couldn't finish it. He's like, I'm done. I'm never gonna rewrite this. I just chose not to like finish that ending years later because like between the time it actually got like illustrated and everything, because the fucking cult that we saw briefly, the pro-I cult, the Sir Edwin cult, they're like, oh, we were actually tasked by our Lord Sir Edwin to give you this this magic book that we've been like keeping like in our possession for who knows. Once again, what the fuck is the time frame here? Like are they a cultist from like a year or two, like 20 years ago, or are they a cult like from like a billion years ago? And they've been passing this book down like in a very temple Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade style way. Like, I'm just so confused about this.
Oh, I was going to go, it's more the package from Back to the Future Part 2.
Oh yeah, that works too. But yeah, so they give her the book, which I love how like whoever the hell like, and who the fuck is this Sir Edwin? How did he get this book? I assume maybe the sequel deals with this, but it's like, what? Like, did he have to build a cult around this to make sure she got? I guess, but like, and it worked. But they give her the book, and it's like, oh, weird. The heart-shaped thing fits into it. Is it the box or the pendant? I don't even know. I don't care. But like,
I have a box written in my notes. So I'm going to go with it's the box.
Yeah, and I think the pendant got destroyed by the arrow anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But she puts the box in it, and it opens, and it's like it literally is okay. It's more than this. It doesn't fucking matter what it is, but it's literally like, how to get to Island the book. That's literally all it is.
Yeah.
How to get to Island the book, and then she's like, "Goodbye, everyone. I'm leaving." She does a poochie. She literally does a poochie because like everyone's like, "No, you can't leave," and she's like, "I have to go back to my planet now." And then Poochie died I died on the way back home. But no, she goes back to Island, and it just fucking ends.
Yeah, we get one final scene between Kaz and Nora. Kaz asks Nora how he knew I was half Dogen. Nora says he didn't actually know that.
He didn't. That's my favorite
He just
part.
could tell that she was so good and so pure that she would just kind of change the world through that. Kaz says that there will still be difficulty for the Second Revolution in getting Sei on board with Ai's plan for peace. But Nora says, yeah, this isn't the end. This is just going to be a turning point. Ai's existence shows that human and Dogen can live in harmony. As he puts it, she is the Second Revolution.
Yep.
End manga.
And then it ends. And I find that fucking wild.
There is one epilogue chapter, though, but it's like completely unrelated.
Yeah, what is that epilogue chapter? It confused me more than anything. Like, it's her back together, and I was like, "What's happening? What is this for? Is this like Final Fantasy VII? Is this like 500 years later?"
Cute little feel-good, happy couple pages.
Yeah, Ai dreams where she is being visited by an angelic woman. The woman says Ai has become a beautiful young woman and apologizes that she truly didn't want to leave Ai behind. Ai wakes up from the dream and heads out with Kent. It's like 6 pages, and that's all that happens on those pages. Yeah, it's obviously foreshadowing some future event that don't get to see here.
I'm confused how Kent can ever be a part of this manga again. Like, once again, I don't, and also I have it in my notes. I actually have a lot of notes about this. When Kent died, and I'm kind of glad he didn't, I guess I'm really torn because plot-wise he should have died. But when he died and they started having this whole thing about like, And even when she's coming too good before like he actually revives, and she's like, "Oh, he died for me, died for this, died for what I believed in." That feels weird when you start putting the Kurt thing back onto him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I got some weird vibes by some of the stuff that was being said about his death, and I'm like, bro, this is kind of awkward.
I think at that point we can separate Kurt Cobain from Kent the character. It's just more of a both of them died in air quotes at this point. Obviously, Kurt's dead, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean.
Yeah, he's still alive. He did you know he formed Weezer?
Oh, I thought you were going to reference that. There was a commercial for some like beer 10 years ago, which had like Kurt Cobain and John Lennon still alive on an island.
Yeah, I remember. No, I just remember like for those who don't know that I think that's kind of a dead meme. Even like everyone's like, "Oh, that's him. He's Rivers Cuomo," and I'm like, he existed like at the same time Kurt was alive. Like it's not like he appeared. Like this band just appeared on the face of the earth like the week after. But anyway, that was the real thing. By the way, I didn't make that up.
Yeah, it's more the effect on maybe her life than the actual events compared to each other. It's not a direct allegory. It's more an applicable moment.
But I'm still confused because if she goes back to like, okay, now that she's back in Ireland, and I have no intention to read the sequel series, by the way. Maybe 1 year if I'm bored. It's not going to be in the series. It's not going to be Reading the Wrong Way unless they finish it. Which, spoiler alert, they actually stopped writing it like was unfinished. Then maybe we'll do a special episode just to come back to it. But literally, it's been 12 years since like because they did volume 1 and 2, and I looked it up. The sequel series was not serialized, which is why it came out a lot faster. Both volumes came out in 1 year, and then it disappeared. And I think, because if you look up the timing of that, around 2010, 2011, it was just because TokyoPop's their troubles, which were actually kind of related to Princess Ai because they overextended themselves, all this bullshit. But so yeah, so we never really got the full ending, and so who cares about that? But now that she's back in Island, I'm like, surely she has to like go back to Nora, right? And if not, that's awkward.
I assume that had this gone on a bit, I haven't read the sequel either. Maybe it's going to be a Jacob Edward situation, and we just see which one she picks eventually.
But she has to pick Nora for the plot. Like, it doesn't make any other sense.
You know, maybe she solves the situation in Island, and then it becomes an Island versus Earth thing. So now hooking up with Kent becomes hey, our two peoples can live in harmony too.
I'm still shocked that they made the Islanders human also, which begs so many questions. And I'm just like, whatever. But yeah, this was a interesting read.
I don't even know if I'd go that far.
It was a read.
Yeah. I don't think I missed anything in my youth. Like that was one of my big things. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm feeling nostalgic for a lot of the stuff. This podcast made me weird nostalgic when I was thinking about Real Bad High School, and I think I even mentioned it then. I think I mentioned Princess Ai in the Real Bad High School one because we were talking about the movie that they were gonna make at one point.
Yeah, we did.
So like, so it was in my head for a while, and I'm like, man, I kind of want to read Princess Ai because like it felt like this. Don't get me wrong, I don't think it actually succeeded, but Stuart Levy was clearly trying to like make a cultural manga Western thing, zeitgeisty thing to happen. And I don't think it really succeeded, but he tried, and kind of got to give him power for that. It's like he tried his best, and he really put it all in there. Like, I actually wanted to laugh a little because like I was reading some of the stuff like about at the end was like, oh, actually, I was reading an interview, but it wasn't in the manga, where he's like, oh, there's going to be all this Princess Ai stuff. It's going to cross all these other mediums. It's not going to just be the manga. And he didn't say it, I think, directly, but I think that he was implying that he was hoping to do either a movie or an anime adaptation. And it was going to be all this stuff. And honestly, I think the biggest problem was, and I don't know if the manga would have existed without her, but I think the biggest problem was Courtney Love's involvement. This would have been such a much better story but then I don't know, maybe Courtney actually did have a bigger hand in its creation, is in like the central plot, but like I can't help but wonder if this would have been a better story without her being involved.
Maybe, but I don't know. I kind of get the sense that Stu Levy didn't really care either. It feels like,
I don't know about that. Stu Levy seemed like he was really on board. Like he was putting his he fucking wrote the music. He wrote music and like did music videos.
It could be that he could just like as someone who's worked on something that is not that good, you generally care a lot about that when you're putting into it. It's just that you don't have the skill to like refine it as you need to.
That could be. There were a lot of parts of it where I felt like the writing felt more like less like I really care about what I'm writing and more like I really care that people know that I'm someone who makes manga.
That is true.
Like,
And
that's
DJ Milk
how
is
it came
all
off to
over
me,
it.
but it could be just that he knew it wasn't good enough, but that he wanted it to be better. That's always a possibility. I don't want to like ascribe my own feelings to some guy I've never met. But the way it came off to me was very like, whatever. I want to be known for a manga. Let's just throw together all the stuff I know about manga and like throw it out.
So fun fact. So when I was getting rid of a lot of my shit, like a couple years ago, just because I had to downsize my life, I had to get rid of a lot of things. I had a Princess Ai figure, which I don't remember if they took at Book Off or not. They did give me back some shit. I can't remember if they took it. They probably did. So the Princess Ai figure is probably gone. Mind you, when I bought it, I did not pay full price for it. I was kind of a hoarder as like in my early teenage, just I had money and I just liked things. So I was kind of a mild collector hoarder, whatever you want to call that, because like if I saw something cheap, I would buy it. And Suncoast would very often like put things on clearance, and I got that figure for $2. It still had the price tag when I found it again. It was $188. But I do remember that Book Off wouldn't take the mangas because they were like a little too beat up. So I have those mangas somewhere, but I couldn't find them in time to like read this. Or maybe I threw them away. I don't know, but I couldn't find them in time to read this. So the version I had was a digital, like a scan version, and it didn't have it in my edition. But Volume 3 had pictures of a cosplay contest. Did you guys see that?
I didn't see that.
So mine didn't have that. So I don't know if you guys saw that, but like I remember that happening because they put that in not Tokyo. What the fuck was the magazine called? Animerica. That's what it was called. This is Animerica magazine. Not New Type USA, but yeah, Animerica. They had pictures of it in there, and I remember seeing that. I didn't go to Comic-Con. This is Comic-Con 2005. They had a Princess Ai cosplay contest to like promo the series, and like I think the winners got like the figures that were then new, and I'm like, I want to see those pictures. How bad were the cosplays? Maybe they were good. I don't know. But like, I don't know. And it seems like the author, what is her name again? Misaho
Kujiradou.
Yeah. She seemed really into the series. Did you read her afterward though? It seems almost sad. Because she's like...
I had read it. I forget most of what she said.
Because Volume 3, first of all, Volume 3 opens with a little pull-out where you can cut out the things, which, by the way, I know for a fact that my ex-girlfriend, like, had those. I'm sure she threw them away by now, if she still even had them somewhere in a drawer. Because we were still together when, like, I eventually got the whole series, just never read it still. But she pulled that out, and she was, like, playing with them at some point. So I never had that in my volume, but I remember those so much. It unlocked the memory when I saw those. I'm like, oh my God, it's the paper dolls. I remember that. Well, it came with paper dolls. And in the afterward, the author's like, oh, I included paper dolls so you could play with them. Please do so. And then she's like, I wish I can keep writing Princess Ai, but I can't. And it's almost like, it's like, was Stu Levy mean to you?
Well, but, I mean, she came back for the sequel, so
yeah, I mean,
they were at least on working terms.
I really want to. I really hope that she's doing well. Like I mentioned already at the beginning, her work. This is clearly the pinnacle of her work. I don't mean to say like she never did anything else good, but like she did nothing else that we remember anymore.
Yeah, this was her first serialized manga, and
Yeah.
she was obviously like still learning the ropes and stuff. And it seems like because it never quite took off for her, that her career she hasn't had much success.
She's relatively young. I managed to like find like a little profile of her, like, you know, in Japanese, and doing the math, she would have been like in her mid-20s around this time. From what I gather, I might be wrong, but from what I gather, she was around her mid-20s at this time. So she's the youngest person involved in the staff. And I'm just like, oh, it's like, I wonder what her career's like. And I looked it up and like, oh, it kind of drops. As a matter of fact, there's records of her work before Princess Ai, literally nothing afterwards until the sequel that I could find. So I don't know if she like retired. maybe the whole experience is like, yeah, I think I'm done with manga. I'm going to get like a job or like a real job, quote unquote. I don't know. Who knows? If you're out there, let's go find her, interview her.
Manuel, to get back to your point about, I guess, involvement of Courtney Love, I think it at least changes this from something that would have been ultimately generic, like giving it that hard alt rock angle, whatever you want to call it, at least makes it something other than a generic like pop idol, like magical pop idol manga.
Yeah,
that is true. Like I guess like without Courtney Love, it's almost like, what's the point of it then? Like, and you would lose this big selling feature. But then part of me is also like, but then again, I say that now in 2025, but like my then girlfriend like wanted to, she was not a weeb, like, you know, and I was barely a weeb myself. Like I was kind of just like a surface level weeb. She wasn't at all. She heard about it because of Courtney Love. So I guess that should tell you something. But even still, I'm like, was she that big of a draw? And the numbers don't really show it. So like,
I mean, it's not that she was much more of a draw, rather than that this is just not a completely generic magical pop idol kind of thing. Like that you can find probably 10 other manga with like similar premises, but this at least changes up the music.
I really wish somebody would interview Courtney Love about this manga now. I don't know if she has anything worthwhile to say. Maybe I'll try to interview Stu Levy.
You could have just stopped that at somebody would interview Courtney Love, because I don't think anyone's doing that these days.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, part of me wonders, because, like, nobody's interviewing her, and I looked this up. It's like, I'm like, I wonder if we email her, she'll, like, answer some questions.
I'm kind of surprised no one has interviewed her recently, given that Francis Bean Cobain just married had a kid with Tony Hawk's son. I don't remember his name.
What?
It's not Riley, is it?
Oh my God, wait, I know it. Is it Riley?
I think it's Riley Hawk. I can't remember which one, though.
So Francis Bean and Tony Hawk's son? Wait, what?
It's not the one who's in Food House. It's the other son.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's where I was confused. Okay. But still...
Yeah, okay, yes, it was Riley Hawk is married to Francis Bean Cobain, Kurt Cobain, and Courtney Love's daughter.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Tell that to somebody in the 90s and just watch their head explode.
Yeah, my head's exploding now. I'm like, oh shit, it's crazy. But no, the manga's cool. Like, part of me wishes I still had that figure now, just because I'm like, don't get me wrong, this was not a good series. This was a terrible series. No. But like, I liked what it kind of represented, and that was definitely a concept ahead of its time to make a fully Western Japanese manga, like original, like, and fully original, because like I said, TokyoPop was really into doing OEM, original English
this was original English manga
thing. Yeah, but this was like, this really had Japanese involvement, like not just in terms of its artist obviously, but it was serialized in a Japanese comic. Like, what? That's shocking. I wish it was a better series that happened with. Like,
yeah,
you could argue that happens all the time now because, like, you know, the just globalization. But like, nobody really tries anything like this anymore, and maybe that's for the best. But I don't know. It just feels like such a product of its time.
Yeah, I think like right now, if an American musician had said like, "Hey, I'm going to collaborate with someone, make a manga," I think people would mostly just see that as a cringe idea. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know that was their whole thing. TokyoPop's whole thing was like bridging people and cultures. Hey,
hey, that's our motto.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, I don't know. It was an idea.
I really wish it was more than 3 volumes. It's funny because like I joked about this. I forgot who I was talking to. Oh, that's you. Like, I wish it was more than 3 volumes for the sake of the story. When I wanted to read it, because it was a chore for me to read too. Don't get me wrong, but like I agree, it's not good enough to deserve it. But I do think the story would have been better for it. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
TokyoPop kind of did the Netflix thing back then, where it's all like, it doesn't matter what. I don't know if it's just the Western obsession with trilogies, but just about every OEM manga they ever did, and apparently even Princess Ai, always had to be 3 volumes. Another series I was thinking about like having us read, which I still might in the future, but not anytime soon, is a series called The Dreaming, which is was written by like, I think somebody in Australia. It's another thing. I think they're kind of famous now too, funny enough. We'll save that for another day, that whole discussion. But basically, I remember that series was pretty big at the time too for English original English manga, and it was 3 volumes. And it was then that I noticed it. I'm like, why are all these always ending in 3 volumes? But I don't know. Like, this was weird timing. Like, everyone seemed excited in volume 1 for Courtney Love's new album, which turned out to be like one of the worst things ever. And I think Courtney Love just dropped out after like that first the first volume, if she was even really involved at all. Like I mentioned earlier about the whole, the weekend throwing the plot together. I really don't think that she sat down with Stu Levy for volume 2 and 3, or
No.
and to be fair, this was serialized, so they probably weren't thinking in terms of volumes. But I still don't think that she sat down with him for later chapters. Like she probably like dipped. And we haven't mentioned her much, but I remember, and even still, like I actually thought that Ai Yazawa like did the art to this for years. I didn't think that back then when I first came across it. I didn't know who she was, but later on when I came across Nana, I always assumed that Ai Yazawa did the art for Princess Ai, because that's just what everyone said, and that's like kind of like, don't get me wrong, if you look more than surface level, her name disappears, but like if you just look it up, you'll see Ai Yazawa's name front and center. But even in the first volume, they mentioned that like, oh, we didn't have much time with her. And then I found an interview that came out like I think like sometime when the series was done, where Stu Levy mentions like, oh, we met with her, we had like a couple hours to talk with her, and she drew a picture and then handed it in to us. And they show that picture, I think, in volume 2, where it's all like this illustration by Ai Yazawa. I think that's all she did. I can find no confirmation she did any other character design. If you look at her credit, it doesn't. Okay, I think it does say character design in the first volume. If you look at her credit later on, it says illustration by Ai Yazawa. Like illustration, not illustrations. Because I think that she only drew one picture of Ai, and maybe she designed it because they did mention that like she sat down with the author, also Kujiradou and Stu Levy and Misaho. Sorry. So I think that the author and Stu Levy sat down with her, told her about the character, and then she sketched it. So I don't know if they already had a little sketch in mind, or if they just let Ai as in Ai Yazawa. They just let Ai Yazawa like just do what she wanted. But yeah. And then again, I don't want to talk shit about Ai Yazawa's art, but you can kind of tell like when it's an Ai Yazawa work. And Princess Ai looks like the most. I hate that I say "I" like 10 times in the sentence. Princess Ai is the most generic Ai Yazawa character I've ever seen in my life. The clothes she wears are interesting, but I'm willing to bet that's Misaho Kujiradou's like influence over Ai Yazawa's.
Yeah,
Like
she even
obviously,
mentions like being a fan of like Gothic Lolita and being really excited to work on the series in that like regard.
so I don't know. Like, I part of me wonders if like how Ai Yazawa feels about all this. It's like I drew one picture for like DJ Milky.
Oh, she doesn't remember.
Yeah, she has no idea this exists. None at all. I think she was knee deep in Nana when this was happening, when this was coming out, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, no idea. I don't know. I don't regret reading it, but I don't suggest anyone else read it. Save yourself the time. Life is short. Do not waste more the hours we did.
I don't think it's like that bad. Like I definitely think it's probably either one of the worst we've read so far. I will give you that. I don't think I think you're overselling just it a bit, though.
I don't know. It's
not bad in an interesting way.
Yeah, it's honestly the story around it. If you want to dig into it, I think it's far more interesting than the manga.
Mm-hmm.
Like trying to place this like in like Courtney Love mentioned like the recording of America's Sweetheart, that she was like her own words, not mine, that she went to like the chateau and just got super coked up, and I'm just like I don't know this for sure, but the time frame definitely fits. It's around the time this manga was being produced. So I'm like, I don't know how of sound mind she was, but I just think she was having a good time, having a blast, one of those good times. And I don't know. This is definitely a product that part's more interesting, I feel, than the story that came out of it.
So what you're saying is we need the disaster artist, but for this, okay.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, this should have been a documentary about a long lost manga series that never got published.
It's hilarious. No, it's hilarious because like this feels like the perfect fodder for like all the anime YouTubers to discover and to talk about, but no one's touched it. And I don't think I don't know if people will. Like, don't get me wrong. If they do, we did it first. But I'm just kidding. But if they do, maybe. But I honestly wonder if somebody went out there, it's like, oh, that'd be a good topic, and they read it. It's like, yeah, it's actually pretty bad. Never mind. Because I had a good time with it. Not a good time. I had a okay. It wasn't a good
You
time.
had a time.
I had a time with it because I had a history with it.
Mhm.
If I feel sorry for you guys, because if one of you suggested this and I read it on its own, I'd be like, "What the?" I would have been pissed.
Yeah,
I would have been pissed.
We know. We've seen your reaction to the things we pick.
Oh, that is true. This is like you guys.
Do you not remember Tekken Kincrete? Yes.
See, we're bringing that up again. Tekken Kincrete. Yeah. I don't know. So that's it. Princess Ai exists. It's, apparently, from what I understand, you could still kind of get it. Like it's still, I think you could still get it on TokyoPop because TokyoPop like still owns it. It's not like one of their license works.
I'm sure it's not in high demand.
Yeah,
you could probably get a digital copy somewhere on whichever like digital manga service you prefer.
I don't know if I should say it because like, but then again, they don't do it anymore. There was a time when TokyoPop, like, by the way, I never met Stu Levy. I don't know if he just like found our email address somewhere, but he used to email us like, and don't get me wrong, like us, like it was just we were just on the press mailing list, access to every TokyoPop manga that they had currently licensed for us to review, like every single one. As they were coming out and their back catalog, and Princess Ai was there. Those links were like time sensitive, like as in like they were open for so many months, so like I couldn't go back and get like a higher res version so I could read that. But it exists, it's out there, and they still have the rights to it, so you could readily get this. I don't think you should. I wouldn't. I looked just out of curiosity. Everything's still really cheap if you want it. Part of me was always like, I want that figure back, and I'm like, no, Manuel, you don't. You really don't.
Want the feeling of having that figure back, Manuel.
Exactly. Like I want my exact 188 one with the story attached. I don't want that figure. You know what I mean? So yeah. Anyway, that's it. I guess that's it. Do you have any final words, B or JD? I don't know.
No, I mean, you mentioned Mana earlier during the signing thing. Maybe this would have been better if he had wrote it.
Oh, fuck yeah. I want to ask one time
I went the manga based on Mana's life.
I can't remember the name of the manga. It was a Detroit. Shit.
Detroit, Metal City, or Rock City?
Yes, there you go. It was something like that, like after the Kiss song, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
That was the manga. And I went to go see Animetal USA in AX in 2012. Animetal USA is the English language version of Animetal. Like they do anime theme songs, but metal versions. And they wear makeup, or Animetal USA wore makeup, like very Kiss inspired, like looking makeup. And somebody who clearly had no idea who they were went to their autograph session, which had like no people. It had like me, and that was it. Because they were like big name musicians who were in this group, like huge, like Rudy Sarzo, like from like who played with Randy Rhoads and Cry Right and Ozzy's band, people like that, like Krista Pelletieri. Anyway. This guy just saw them, had no idea who they were, had them autograph a Detroit Metal City manga. And part of me, when you just said that right now, I was like, I want to bring the Princess Ai manga to Mana and just like sign this. I know you had nothing to do with it, but sign it. I'm sure he wouldn't, but yeah. I don't know. Good times,
I think if you could find Mana to even like offer him the manga, that would be bigger news.
Apparently, just go to poorly run events like in South America where like they serve you the marzipan on a plate with like a ham sandwich. That's a very deep cut, but yes, that was a Mana event. It was a tea party where they served ham sandwiches and marzipan and punch. Not even tea. Anyway, that JD, last word.
What are we reading next?
Yeah, okay. So overall, kind of generic, definitely forgettable. Nothing really interesting if you're not a big fan of like Courtney Love for whatever reason. But yeah, as for our next manga, Manuel, I will give you a compliment for once. I think you're actually onto something with picking this manga. I'm going to do something similar. Let's keep the manga. Let's keep the manga serialized in Wings, but let's turn it back about 10 years, and let's turn the dial back on authors all the way back to episode 0. My next pick is Tokyo Babylon.
How? That's the only manga I mentioned. Isn't that wild?
In honor of a friend of mine whose birthday is April 1st, the same day that Clamp like celebrates as their birthday, and who is getting married in May. I want to do this kind of for them as a gift that's not actually a gift, because I also want to reread this series.
I'll save this for the show, but like I I think it was an OVA. It wasn't a full anime, but I remember watching that on Showtime Beyond. It was one of the first anime I'd ever seen like on cable TV. It blew my mind.
Yeah, it had 2 OVAs from Madhouse.
Yeah, that's
they're
wild,
not very.
though.
They're very different from the manga, though.
Yeah, I had the manga, or I don't know if it finished, but wasn't that also TokyoPop? Was it Viz? But it doesn't matter. It came out.
I think it's Dark Horse and Viz maybe now.
Okay, well back then I know it came out like when I was around the same-ish time, because I remember I had them around then too. Yeah, I was huge into Clamp, but that's wild. I swear we didn't talk about this before. Like,
no, I've never told them what I was planning.
Yeah, because like when I was looking up Wings, just on my own, there's a ton of famous titles in it. Like a ton of famous titles that have been serialized in it. But I thought Tokyo Babylon. Like, I'm going to mention that one because it's the series I'm sure everyone, at least everyone, is the three of us would know. I didn't know that we'd be picking. That's wild.
Yeah. So the Clamp Premium Collection is being released right now. The 7th volume sadly won't be out in time for the episode, but there are previous editions that we can read as well.
Well, we'll check it out.
Right.
Like, I'll figure out a way to read it.
Probably coming back to Clamp eventually on the show. I didn't think it would be so soon. I didn't know which one it would be, but
yeah, I have other Clamp series in mind. Well, Clamp has like a billion series.
Yeah, the friend whose birthday it is and who's getting married in May is the friend who introduced me to Clamp Manga. So I'm just doing this for her.
So yeah, we'll do that. We'll what's the word? It's gonna be a 2-parter though, right? Because kind of a long series,
it's 7 volumes. We tend to do no more than 6 in an episode, so I think we'll do 3 or 4 in April, and then the rest in May.
Yeah, something like that. We'll see. We'll see how in like 3 or 4 weeks time. Well, probably 3 weeks time from the time of this recording. We'll probably see how far along we are. It'll probably be 3. We'll do the 4 for me. Sounds good.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was an episode. That's it.
Yeah, it's been reading the wrong way.
On all the social medias, and go to ajconnections.com.
Shout out to our patron Ed. Consider subscribing to our Patreon, patreon.com/A2JConnections, to help keep our website ad-free. Every dollar helps, and it helps bring you content like this.
Yep.
Yeah, and we're on Twitch like every day, practically.
Yeah. A2J plays.
Yeah, it feels like that. Yeah. So check us out. We're I was to say we're on tomorrow, but tomorrow is the time of this recording, so never mind. But just check us out. Our schedule is on. We do publish our schedule. If you join our Discord, or if you just ask us anywhere, and I'll tell you when we'll be streaming. But we do have a schedule.
So yes, for A2J Connections, I'm JD.
I'm B.
I'm Manuel. That's fine. Don't worry about it.
And we'll see you next chapter.